Hello and welcome, Jesslyn. Welcome to Unabashed You.
Hi, thank you. So good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, and we were having a wonderful time getting to know each other before we, officially got on the call. I'm already so excited by all of the things she's doing. I was like, we got to start because I want to know so much more. Is there anything you want the listeners to know as we get started here?
I guess first and foremost, I am a daughter of the King. I have a passion for Jesus and a passion for mental health. I am a wife. My husband Jason and I have been married for 15 years. We have three girls, 18, 14, and 11. So it's constantly
Uh,
chaos, it seems like all the time. We're constantly going in so many different directions. Um, my passion is my ministry, which is called Fighting Goliath for Mental Illness. I help women who live with bipolar disorder. Since I live with bipolar disorder and have lived with the disorder for the past 25 years, and uh, it became later on in my journey, it became my ministry. And
hmm.
now that is what I do full time.
Wow. That, you know what? Talk about a Romans 8:28 moment where you didn't sign up for this. You didn't say, "Oh yeah,
Mm.
okay. Uh-huh. Yeah, give me that. I'll have that and I'll struggle and I'll." But, these things happen where we do live in a broken world and all kinds of things, trials, are in our path and we have to figure out how can we make good come out of this. And it sounds exactly like that's what you're doing. Oh my goodness, it became your ministry so much so that you're even doing it full time, which, a lot of times we have a passion and we're like, well, I dabble in my passion because I have to do this other thing that helps pay the bills or what have you. You get to do it full time. That is a gift. Okay, what three words would you use to describe yourself?
Sister in Christ, compassionate, and willing to serve.
Oh, okay. Ooh, I, I
Mm.
like to just, I let them wash over me and this is just a word picture of your heart. Sister in Christ, compassionate, willing to serve. And clearly you are based on what you've told us so far, and we're going to find out more about it. Have you ever played two truths and a lie where you say three things about yourself and I see if I can tell which one is correct?
Okay, so two truths and a lie.
So yeah, and doesn't matter what order, just give me three things and I'll see.
Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. You can live a fulfilling life living with mental illness, and you can reach recovery.
Oh my gosh. Oh, interesting. I just kind of caught on to something here. Okay. Okay. Well, I think given the fact that we're both women of faith, we understand the sameness and the constancy of our faith, God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit. So I'm going to set that one aside because I
Yeah.
think we know that that one is true and that you can live a fulfilling life living with mental illness. I'm going to say 100% yes. I mean, how can that not be true? And then you can reach recovery. I think that that's probably the lie because I mean, even if let's say I'm not struggling particularly with a mental illness, like at the moment or what have you, it's like saying you're done. I don't think you're done. You're not ever done, even though you may have some success under your belt. I don't think you reach that like finish line, so to speak. How'd I do?
You did awesome. And that is the one thing I really want people to realize who do live with a mental health condition, because it took me many years to discover that and cross over that line where you can live in recovery. It's just a process of getting there in your journey and how to best take care of yourself. And it can take some time. And it took me many years. It took me 20 years to finally be, yep, I'm going to be okay no matter what, you know.
Right.
I live with this illness, and I know it's going to be an everyday fight still, but I know I'm going to make it. In the past, I didn't know that, you know. I know 100% that I will be okay.
Right.
Um, so that lie played in my head for many, many years. And the devil would try to take me down during those really, really down periods and try to tell me, you know, this time you're not going to do it. You're not going to make it
Mhm.
out of the pit this time, you know?
The doubt.
You're not, it's the doubt. He puts that doubt in your mind and the fear, and it can get out of control and it just can spiral you. It can
Right.
take over your whole mind.
Absolutely. Yes, I think regardless of whether we come from a place of faith, we can say that that is true, that we do live in a world that has a lot of fear-based reactions or values, maybe even. I'm not even sure how to describe it, but you know, the doubt, the confusion, the people pleasing, the comparing ourselves to constantly comparing ourselves to others. I mean, that just is plain part of it. All right, let me find out one of your favorite. I see. I like movies, so I
We do
like
too.
yeah, I like to hear what one of your favorite movies of all time. Just meaning, I'm not asking you to pick like this. You know, it's that would be too hard. But one that you'd like to share with us today.
I have to say, it is one I have watched over and over and over, but it's the movie Miracle. It's on the
Oh,
Disney Channel. It's a true story of the 1980 U.S. men's ice hockey team and their
oh,
remarkable victory over the Soviet Union in the Winter Olympics.
oh my
And
God.
it's awesome. The film highlights leadership, working together as a team, and believing the impossible can happen.
Uh,
And that movie just, I love it. And my husband and I, we do lines from that movie randomly, like all the time. We're movie people too, so
Good. I like
yeah.
that. Oh, that is great. And you know, it sounds a little bit familiar, but not, I obviously haven't seen it, or I think I would have instant recognition. Now, wait a minute, 1980, who is in that? Was there any quote unquote names that I would recognize in that movie, or all unknowns?
No, you probably would. Herb, the coach. Oh gosh, what is his name? I know his name. I can see
That's
his
okay.
face.
That's okay. Let's
Okay,
see. Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell.
that,
I just popped it up.
that's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. So you
Okay.
would know him, and
Yes.
it's just an awesome, awesome movie.
Okay, well, I don't know that I don't think I've ever seen it. So now I'm gonna have to add it to the ongoing list. See, now this is one that's only one of the reasons I asked this question. That's just so fun. Now, who is somebody that inspires you, a person that inspires you?
Hands down, Priscilla Schreier. If I could meet that woman one day, I would love to meet her. Every time I hear her speak, every devotional study I've done with her, she just has fire and she ignites the passion for God. And I just look up to her so much. I I just am amazed with everything that comes out of that lady's mouth. She just truly is a vessel, and she's just awesome.
Okay, well, I'm somebody else I need to check out. Excellent. And again, I mean, I think inspiration is something that's very important. So all of the many ways and people we can get it from, it's a good thing. It's a very good
Mm-hmm.
thing. Okay, thank you for that. All
Mm-hmm.
right. And now a piece of wisdom you keep handy.
Um, the best piece of wisdom, of course, is anything from the Bible. And one of my favorite verses is Isaiah 40:31. It hangs on my wall here. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not be faint. that has been my verse throughout my whole journey and will continue to be.
Mhm.
Um, so the Bible, of course, is my main wisdom, but outside of the Bible, it would be probably around mental health and just to know that it's okay to not be okay. Um, that you are not your illness, you are not defined by
Mm.
your illness, and that you are a person and you have a name and you have a face and you have dreams and you have hopes, and all those things are still attainable. Living with a mental illness does not stop those things from happening. And that's why I'm so passionate about this too, because I've lived this journey and I can
Mhm.
honestly tell people that this is reality for me. When at one point I never thought it was going to be, but it can be, and it can be for others too.
Mhm. That's very encouraging. And I think one of the reasons we're doing this series is to help, have more conversations around mental health so that we can, as we say, like, work on normalizing this a little more. I mean, why would your mental issues be any different than something that's physically wrong with you? I mean, it just doesn't really make any sense. And yet, this is what we have societally to sort of combating against. And I think we're getting there. I think we've got some speed going, and we're talking about it more, which is just incredible. So I mean, again, we met through Amber Jean Parker, who's been a guest a couple of times, and she suggested that you would make a good guest, and I feel like anybody who comes on as themselves, that's 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 great. That's what this is all about. So we are doing a series about let's talk about mental health. So you've already said that I don't even know what verb to use for it, but that would we say you have it, or I will say it this way, you've been diagnosed with bipolar. Tell us about anything that about around finding that out that you want to share.
Sure. I was officially diagnosed with bipolar 1 disorder at the age of 26. And what bipolar disorder is, it's a chronic mental health condition, and it causes dramatic shifts in a person's mood, energy, and their ability to think clearly. People who live with bipolar disorder have highs and they have lows, which are known as mania, and depression.
Hmm.
And they differ from typical ups and downs people just, normally have. Um, if you leave it untreated, the symptoms usually get worse. However, with a strong lifestyle that includes self management and a good treatment plan, many people live well with the condition.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, with bipolar disorder, my symptoms started at 23. I was not officially diagnosed till 3 years later, but the onset age of bipolar disorder is around 25 years old.
Is
I
it?
was, fr- I'm sorry.
I said, is it really? I did not realize that.
Yeah, it is. And there are a lot of times, like I was first diagnosed with MDD, major depression disorder, and also OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, before they even reach the bipolar diagnosis. It usually
Mm.
takes some time um, to come to that conclusion. So mine started for me at the age of 26, and it's estimated that 2.9% of the US population is diagnosed with bipolar disorder, with nearly 83% of those cases being classified as severe. And bipolar disorder
Ooh.
affects both men and women equally.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I'm learning all kinds of things here. Well, this is one, I want to applaud your courage in coming on here and being very vulnerable and transparent about, your own journey and all. I think it is a really important part of helping helping each other. If we kind of recognize and understand each other better, isn't that just a really good thing? Okay, so how did you get through it? So you referenced the fact that if it's not treated, obviously it will get worse, is what you're saying. So you came to that realization at 26 that you have this thing you didn't know, and so now you chose to be treated for it at 26. Is that right?
That's correct. That's kind of a hard question to answer because living with bipolar disorder, it's an ongoing journey. So it's not a linear process. And every day, those who live with bipolar disorder, it is a fight. Depending on, how you're taking care of yourself, what's going on in your life, what kind of life stresses or big events that may be happening in your life that could impact a change in your overall mental health. When they diagnosed me at 26, I was happy to finally get a diagnosis
Mm-hmm.
that I knew that I could start being treated for. But then we started with the whole medication thing.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that was a horrific process for me. It took 10 years, nearly a decade, to find medication that was going to work right for me. So, you know, it's you have to weed a lot of things out. No medication work. I didn't. That's horrible English. No medication.
No, I got it.
um, yeah.
That's fine. That's fine.
We all are unique and we all are going to respond differently to different things. So no two person is the same. I went through many different mood stabilizer medications until we finally came to the one that was going to work for me. And prior to receiving that diagnosis, it was just horrific for my family
Mm.
and I. It got to the point where medications weren't even effective for me. And I was administered with ECT shock therapy treatments. And those are where you basically are put under and your brain is shocked and it causes your brain to have a seizure, to jolt something to happen in your brain to help you with the severe, I was in a catatonic like depression, to lift you up out of that. And I did go through a series of those. I went through 12 and they did help lift me up out of the depression. But just like with the medications, there can be some very serious side effects. In taking the ECT, although it helped lift that depression for me, to this day, I have long-term memory problems where I can't remember certain things. It's like it's been the it's been wiped clear. Some things from my past when I was growing up or high school or my college years. But it did lift the depression for where I was at. So we were thankful, for that.
Right. Well, I'm just not even sure how to word. I don't want to, if I say I am sorry, it just doesn't feel sufficient enough. I feel sorrow in my heart for, the road that you have been on. I mean, these are things we don't wish on our loved ones. We don't wish on, gosh, really anybody. And yet,
Hmm.
again, this is not something you chose, but it's something you were dealt, if we want to look at it that way. And you've obviously been through so much to get to where you are now, and that helps explain why you are so passionate about wanting to help other people. Okay, so
Hmm.
you learned a lot about therapies that worked for you and didn't, a 10-year journey. Wow. Thank you for being so diligent and persevering through that. And and I love that you said that everybody's unique and it's going to be different for everybody. So you have to kind of keep at it until you get the recipe that sort of works for you. And I'm imagining that every so often you have to tweak it again.
Yes. Hmm. Yes, that's exactly true. A medication might work for you for a period of time and then it could stop working, and you and your doctor might have to look at something else. That has happened to me several times during my journey, and it's happened where I could be on multiple medications, but then I can be on one medication at one point in time too. It just depends how life goes. And it's important to say to those who live with bipolar disorder, not everybody does have to take medication. Not everybody who is given the diagnosis of bipolar disorder will have to take medication, but for me, I do. Taking the medication helps to make me a better version of myself, and that's okay. So I am not on nearly as much medication as I used to be, which I
Right.
am thankful. Um, but, like I said, it took me 10 years to find that medication that really did work for me. And it's a continual self management process throughout the years. And it really took me a good 2 decades to be solid within living with bipolar disorder, with knowing what I need to know, finding out about bipolar disorder and educating myself about bipolar disorder and how I really have to self take care of myself and seek the treatment that I need, not be embarrassed to get therapy, to get the exact help that I need, not to be afraid to speak out about it. It took me 20 years to find my voice. And once I found my voice, it was a freeing experience for me. It just lifted this weight that I no longer had to live with and fear, like live in this silence all by myself. I could rely on other people to help support me, and I could rely on my community. I finally let those people in, and it just changed everything dramatically for me. And it also gave me that purpose for my life and for my ministry, knowing that I could help other people. And in
Wow.
turn, when I help other people, they are helping me right back. And it just
Right.
keeps me in recovery. And it's just a feeling of just joy. And um, I I people ask me, they're like, "Jesslyn, how do you stay in recovery?" And I say, it's a combination of things for me. First of all, you have to, you know, living with bipolar disorder is a medical condition. You have the medical side of it, and everybody has to find what works best for them on the medical side. On the other side over here, I'm a faith-based person, which we've already talked about. I Spirituality is huge for me. This is my other medication. The God and his word and my spirituality and being connected to him keeps me grounded and keeps
Mhm.
me where I need to be. It's those things coexisting together that honestly keep me in recovery. I look back at the years in the past and the times that I struggled significantly, and I pushed the word aside, or I pushed God aside because I was just so mad at the state that
Mm.
I was in. And
Mm.
it's hard to understand when you're in that depth of pain and that level of pain, and it feels like you're never going to get better, or you're never going to come out of that pit. And I pushed God away a lot of those times when I needed to be doing the exact opposite. I needed to be leaning in more. I needed to be falling on my knees more, not pushing him away. When that finally clicked in my head that 100% of me has to be given over to him, and he loves me exactly for who I am, no matter what I've done, no matter what I've done in the past, that I am still his child, and he loves me regardless.
Right.
um and that took it. I mean, I've been a Christian for many, many years, but living with bipolar disorder, you know um and stigma plays a part of this too. You just fear really coming out and saying that you have this, because of fear of judgment of what other people may think or what they say. And over the years, I've experienced time after time again things that people have said, and it hurts you. It hurts that person living with the disorder negatively, and it just puts them back in that shell of
Mhm.
not wanting to be um, vocal about living with the illness. And you know, studies have shown that 46% of people do not seek the help that they need
Mm.
because of stigma. They don't seek it because they are afraid, you know, and they keep it to themselves and they live in that silence. And what people need to understand is that silence is suffocating and that silence is deadly. And like you said earlier, um, we need to be normalizing these conversations about mental health, you know, by normalizing the conversations and sharing our lived experiences. It gives that hope to others that that is possible, you know, for them and their families too. So I
Ah,
don't know. I kind of just went off on a tangent there. I
I love
forget what the original question
I
was.
I have just soaked up every word, and I everything you've said is meaningful and powerful and true and right and needs to be um needs to be experienced. So I mean, we put the words out there and then we want other people to soak them up, soak it in, so that they too can make that shift and realize that one, if you are, living with this disorder or a different disorder, it's okay and to be vocal about it and to invite help medically, spiritually, community. I mean, there are so many ways to uh, to get that support, and it saddens me deeply to hear that 46% of people don't seek help because of the stigma. That's not an okay statistic at
No.
all. It makes me so sad. What I want to hear now is what you are doing full time. You're in this space, you've got firsthand experience, you've got all this wisdom and all these conclusions that you've come to based on experience. So what are you putting out into the world?
You know, when my ministry first came to light and when I knew that I was being called in this direction, it was back in 2023, and I was asked to give my testimony on my journey with my mental illness to Our Lady's prayer group at church. And it was the first time I was putting it all out there. I mean, I had gone to this church for years, and only a few people really knew that I lived with this illness,
Mhm.
and they were mostly the ladies in my Sunday school class, which it's just a very close knit um, of women. But I shared my testimony that evening, and after I was done, I saw these conversations one by one start to open up and start to happen. And it was just like I was watching the room, and in the room afterwards, it was just like one conversation happened after another. And I was just like, okay, I see what's happening here, you know, and I just felt the Holy Spirit and God saying, this is what I want you to do. I will
Mhm.
equip you. And I will equip you, Jesslyn, but this is what you are being called to do. And
Mhm.
honestly, I was intimidated because it's like I don't have a degree in theology, and I don't know the ins and outs of the Bible. I know the Bible, but I was scared of that, and I didn't feel I was like a Moses, you know, I didn't feel
Uh,
like I was going to be equipped enough to do this mission that he is putting ahead of me. But he also tells us that if that is his if that is his mission, you know, he's going to equip us. He's going to prepare us. He's
mhm.
going to give us those tools. And ever since, March of 2023. He has continually done
Hmm.
that. Every single door continues to open for now Fighting Goliath, my ministry. And I went into full-time ministry November of 2024. And I mentioned earlier, it specifically, Fighting Goliath specifically helps women who live with bipolar disorder. It helps women overcome helplessness and hopelessness that we can feel living with bipolar disorder. By we share our lived experiences, we share different types of resources, and we share God's word. It's a faith-based ministry because, like I said, my spirituality is a huge part along with the medical side, both of those coexisting together. So um I am about to release my first book in a couple months.
Yay.
It's called Fighting Goliath, Slaying the Giant of Bipolar Disorder, and the book is a God-written book. I mean, he helped me write the whole thing. It talks about my journey, my struggles, my family's journey, their struggles. It talks about stigma. It talks about the stigma we faced within um, church and faith community stigma in general anyway. It talks about finding your purpose and then, in the end, living out that God-given purpose. And also knowing that I live with this mental illness, I live with this severe mental illness, but I also live a fulfilling life.
Mhm.
And the whole purpose of the book is to provide that hope for other people. Because I have been in and out of psychiatric units, right? I've been in and out of different hospitalization stays. And I have gone from being on a psychiatric unit to talking in front of different churches to now becoming an author for the first time. Um, my ministry continues to grow because the hand of God is just upon it. And we don't see for many years sometimes what he has for us, sometimes because we're not listening. For me, I'm very stubborn. It took me many, many years. um, but gosh, when you see that and when your eyes are fully open to his goodness and his mercy and his grace upon your life, it is just the most beautiful thing. And I just I'm like overjoyed that this is what I get to do. And now all I can say is thank you. Like, thank you that I do live with bipolar disorder. And I would have never have used to be able to say that, because living with this disorder, I now know Christ like I've never known before. And now I know I also can't live with this disorder without him as the cornerstone.
Right. Wow. Just so beautifully said. Everything you're
Mm.
saying is heartfelt and impactful. And I'm just right there with you in listening to all this encouragement and the excitement that you have for it. So, how is this a group that meets regularly online? Do you do, I mean, what does, okay, so you're giving talks. That's one thing you're doing. You wrote
Hmm.
a book. That's another thing you
Hmm.
do. And so it sounds like you have a community. What does that look like? I mean, I'm not talking about like your church community. I mean, this community of women that you're helping.
There's a community on Facebook, and you can find it. It's just a Facebook group called Fighting Goliath. So we have a community of people there. You don't just have to live with bipolar disorder. There are people a part of that group who do live with bipolar disorder, but there's family members who are part of that group supporting their loved ones with bipolar disorder or another mental health condition in general. So we have that community. We have the community um, within, Fighting Goliath and the website. I welcome anybody who wants to write on the Fighting Goliath blog. I love hearing other people's stories and help to get their stories out there. So if anybody is ever interested in writing a story for the Fighting Goliath blog, please contact me and let me know. I would love for you to write something. Um,
So it's communal and interactive. You're inviting people in to the experience.
yes,
Okay, that's
absolutely.
beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, so
Absolutely.
can people find you then? So that's my people find you on Fighting Goliath dot. I mean, what are we calling it?
So right now, Fighting Goliath is working under JesslynMcCutcheon.com, but we are working on a separate Fighting Goliath website to come later on down the road, probably after the book is done. There's like
Okay, I
too
got to
much
make sure
going
I'm spelling your
on
name
right
right.
now.
Jesslyn McCutcheon. Okay, yeah, I spelled it right. Okay, great. Okay, so Fighting Goliath is right now is nestled under your name, Jesslyn McCutcheon, and of course I'll put all that in the show notes, etc. Oh my
Yes.
goodness, that's so when does the book come out? I have to ask that.
We're shooting for spring 2025. I'm hoping for April. That date hasn't been released yet, but definitely this year. We're hopefully it stays on track that we can still do it spring 2025.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That it's so needed. Everything you're saying is needed, and it's wonderful. Is there anything else that you didn't get to say that you want to say as we conclude here?
Um, just that, I guess I do want to say to, living with bipolar disorder, my family and I have been through several crisis situations. And if you ever have a crisis situation, we now have the 988, suicide prevention lifeline. You can text or call at any time. And on the other end, there are trained professionals who can help get you through that situation and de escalate the crisis. If for some reason you or your loved one is in immediate danger and you do need to call 911, ask for a CIT team, which is crisis intervention team, which consists of trained police officers who have been trained in crisis intervention. It consists of mental health peer specialists and other mental health professionals who can come and assess the situation because that's what they know and that's what they do. Um, that when I found that out was very beneficial to me because that was not available to me 20 years ago
Right.
when we were in a crisis situation. Neither was 988. And obviously, it depends what area you are in. Not all areas have crisis intervention teams yet, but it is expanding. And if there's one available, just know to ask for one. It would make the situation a whole lot easier. Um, and with crisis situations too, if you are in a crisis situation, just try to, and you're trying to help somebody, just try to stay calm, be there for that person, and try to just meet that person right where they are. Don't try
Mhm.
to fix anything. Don't try to solve anything. Just meet them right where they are and try to seek the help that is needed during that time. Most of the time, if you can just be there for somebody and meet that person where they are, that's what they were looking for. That somebody would care to come in and just sit with them through that moment, you know? Um, so I just wanted to add that in about crisis situations too. Um, just meeting people where they are and loving them for who they are.
Right. That is a really valuable piece of information and much needed because often we want to make it better right away. And so we think making it better is like, okay, well, just do this or just do that. as if
Mhm.
somehow we're an expert in that when usually we're not. Usually we're not at all. So yeah, to not try to fix or solve, meet them right where they are, to be and be with them. Just
That's
be
right.
with them, right? Whatever it is that they're going through. Absolutely beautiful. Jesslyn, you're doing really important, doesn't even seem like a big enough, strong enough word to describe. There's just a big desperate need for more of this. And I'm grateful that you, through your experience and your years of living with bipolar, you have been able to you just amass all these strategies and helpful resources and firsthand experience and put it out there. And again, share. You're sharing.
Mhm.
People don't know you're
Mhm.
there unless they know. And
That's right.
yeah, and now they know, and that's a beautiful, wonderful thing. So thank you, Jesslyn. I'm just absolutely thrilled that you are in the world doing the work you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.